Well, how are you getting on? Welcome to the second episode of the Savor Success podcast. I'm Caolan Cullen. Today we have one of my closest friends and one of the most inspiring people I've ever had the privilege to meet, Keith Loftus. Keith is a multi-award winning entrepreneur who is well on his way to building a drinks empire. He co-founded All About Kombucha over 6 years ago or so and is really making a name for himself as one of Ireland's finest beverage entrepreneurs. What's even better is Keith took this podcast in his van as he was on the way to visit a few clients. Talk about dedication. From cash-strapped market stall beginnings and inspired by his travels in Vancouver, we deep dive into his incredible journey of what it takes to build a national brand and landing in stores all across the country. We talk all things about products, public perceptions, educating the masses on kombucha, challenges he faces of running a company, the importance of building a community around the product, and continued self-improvements, and how it's even more important than ever to shop local. Keith is incredibly knowledgeable about all things food and beverage, with serious character to boot. So if you have one, grab a bottle of kombucha, chill out, and enjoy the latest episode of the Savor Success podcast with Keith Loftus of All About Kombucha. Let's get started. Keith, how are you? Great to see you again, my man. Great to have you on the show today. Appreciate you coming on.
No worries at all, Caolan. Good to be here.
As people may or may not know, Keith and I have been friends, good friends for the last 6 odd years. I've seen every step of the way along his journey with his company, All About Kombucha. I wanted to bring Keith on here to highlight the success, his story, his journey, and his take on the food and beverage space at the moment. I know so much about you, but I want you to tell your story. So, Keith, I'm going to pass over to you. Who are you and what do you do?
Do you remember how we first met, Caolan?
I do. I know it well. On a rainy Sunday in Dunleary People's Park, eh?
Yeah. Where the advice that you gave us when we were first starting out is keep on trucking and keep on going no matter what the weather. But at the same time, you were doing keepy uppies outside the stall, dossing, while everyone else was waving away, which I thought was ironic, beautifully ironic, but, I got to hand it to you. You were right.
Sounds about right. Always show up, eh? Doesn't matter how you show up, always show up in some way.
Yeah, definitely, always show up. So, obviously my name is Keith and I have a company called All About Kombucha. Kombucha was born and brewed in Galway. I think the concept was dreamt up in a far-off dream in the lands of Vancouver in 2015. And then it conceptualized itself in 2017 in Galway. So myself and Emmett moved over to Canada when we were 20. No, Emmett's my business partner. We just finished college and we're both eager to get going. Very, very, very eager to get going and see what the real world was like. So we got ourselves a little visa over to Vancouver for €98. And with that, we embarked on a 2-year journey, not knowing who, what, or where, what we were going to do, but we gave it a go crack. And then when we got over there, we set up a painting and carpentry business. So from there then, we were completely out of our depths, but we put our heads together and we decided to get working. And from there, then we realized that we worked really well together, and we had like a complementary skill set, which is really important. When you're working in a duo, you need to be able to kind of pick up where the other one drops down. So we used to say we'd have a rule of 1.5. We're always at least 1.5 when the other one wasn't there. So it was good to have that level of like camaraderie, especially starting off, because it can be hard to motivate yourself and find things to motivate if you feel like the world is getting up on you, which is a common thing when you're running your own business, because to celebrate the small victories, it's easier shared with someone else rather than not. So a huge part of the joy that I take out of running my own business. We found this drink called kombucha, and we heard about it all on different podcasts. It was synonymous with the lifestyle that we liked. It was kind of like within yoga, it was within like hiking, mindfulness, meditation, all these far away concepts back in 2015 that, we'd only heard on podcasts. Now we're practically on our front door of Vancouver. And when the penny dropped that I realized that it was a functional drink, I never even knew what a functional drink was. All drinks were just drinks to me. Hydration, like I'm thirsty, I want to get a drink. I knew Coke was bad, I knew water was better. But ever since I was a young child, I used to love vitamin C's. My aunt used to have to put them in the high drawers away from me, because I drink 4 or 5 or 6 of them. I wanted them all, because in the back of my mind, these were good for me. So the more things that I take that were good for me, the better that I'd be, the better that I'd feel, the better that I'd perform. And that was a 4-year-old's mindset. So when the penny dropped, then that I realized that kombucha was in and around the same thing, like, that it was a probiotic, it was good for the gut, it was low in calories, it was low in sugar, it was brewed with organic ingredients. I'd never even realized that drinks could be like, as healthy as that. So I loved it. I couldn't get over the fact that it was a 2-for-1, quench my thirst as well as served as a purpose for my health. So when myself and Emma came back, we decided to set up a kombucha company. We got
Had you tried kombucha in Ireland before? Or it was purely in Vancouver. You were traveling, as many people do, around the world, and same for myself and stories. You travel new places, new cultures. You see products, and you bring them to Ireland. You had never had kombucha before.
No, I couldn't even spell it. No.
Love that. Okay, fantastic. So you were just, the light bulb went off when you were out in Vancouver. It's like, and obviously I've known you for so long now. You're entrepreneurial minded constantly, new ideas coming into your head every week, and it's great. So when you sold kombucha, you and Emmett were like, let's do this, bring it home back to Ireland and get cracking.
Pretty much, yeah.
And how did you guys get started when you guys came back to Ireland? You had a food stall for a while. That was a huge success and very, very popular. I remember it well. Have a nice day. And so that kind of led you into the kombucha era. If you want to talk about how you guys got started.
Yeah, so as I said, when we first got back, we got a gig in our local farmers market, which is a great place to go because everyone starts making their own product. They give it to friends and family, and you may not get any vocal response off them, but you might get a smile and go, can be pretty ambiguous. Because a lot of your family members don't want to tell you that what you're making is shit to your face. So if you go to a farmer's market, you get propelled into the world of honesty, and you better be ready because people will give you their opinion. They'll give you exactly what they think. The look of your brand, the smell of your brand, the feel of your brand, the look of you. They spare no reserve whatsoever. They'll just give it to you exactly as it is. So I'd been living in Barcelona prior to that, and it was kind of the beginning of brunch and avocados. And I just had something feeling deep inside that I was like, avocados, 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 avocados. Now, kombucha at that time kind of synonymous with brunch. I just felt that there was an opportunity there, so I spoke to Emmett, and I love to cook, I love flavor, he loves to build, so we built a frame and a stall, and then I put together a few recipes for avocado sandwiches, and that was kind of the lead, that was the hook, that was like the easy sell, and then the back sell then was the kombucha. So obviously, you can't scale avocado sandwiches, but you can scale a product like kombucha, and kombucha can be everywhere while, you have to be the one to make the sandwich. So the idea was to attract and then to educate. And the attraction was the avocado, and then the education was the kombucha, because they both kind of went hand in hand. So that went from us buying like a small hot plate off a fella on Foster Street in Galway for 30 quid. He came out, our lad, hobbled down, cash deal, €30, here you go, tiny little thing. And week on week, I think like our first week we made like €190, then it was €220, then it was $270, then it was $350, then it was $450, and like it was just, I still remember the first sandwich that we sold. You feel like such a fraudster. You're just like,
yeah.
Can I get one Holy Trinity, one Avotranian, two deep fried avocado sushi rolls, and that kombucha, please? And you're just like, me? Oh yeah, of course. yeah. And then you just kind of get into the flow, and then you're talking about it, and it's just, it created a sense of excitement. Emmett loves events. I love markets, and like we're both able to kind of share in that in our own individual ways as well. So we both got a huge kick out of it. And then the food stall just shot off exponentially. Went from like, as I said, €190 for our first weekend to Body and Soul like 6 months later. And that took us around to all the kind of health and wellness events and big music festivals in Ireland. But we came to a fork in the road there, and then that all our time was like, we'd go and spend the week prepping, trying to get deliveries out for kombucha as well. Go do the whole weekend, like, 5 days, smashing out all these sandwiches, and then coming back on the Monday and having to clean everything and still fulfill orders and get back into the brewery. So it was just like wicks were getting burned rapid, and something was going to give. So we said, instead of us, let it be. Have a nice day.
You had two businesses going at the same time, essentially, and two different supply chains and distribution, different outlets for selling. very hard to navigate that on a shoestring budget at the very start. You guys were only starting off. So, like, as you said, in the farmer's market from the start, you get that first buzz and rush of sales, but it gets to the point where you have to focus on one thing because both sides are growing and you can't do both really at the same time whilst you guys are at the starting off stage with zero money in the farmers markets. That kind of leads into the educational side of things. One of the questions I was going to have for you was the education of kombucha. As you said, you had never tried it in Ireland before. You couldn't even spell it. And I only know really about kombucha because of you guys, yourself and Emmett, over the years. Majority of maybe in Ireland, a lot of people still don't know what kombucha is. So you used Avo Nice Day as a platform in a way to educate people on kombucha, bring it into the brunch mainstream, or even just into the festival scene. How have you found the educational piece of educating Ireland on a product that had never been done before?
Yeah, it can be fun, it can be interesting, it can be challenging. It is everything. It's like, you're dealing with the population of whatever Ireland's population is, like 5 million, 5 point whatever million, and you can only be in one place at one time. So you can kind of get caught up in an echo chamber online, thinking that everybody knows what kombucha is, but you go down to the farmers market, to the ploughing championship, and they only ever know tea and milk, with 2 heaps of sugar, along with a few digestive biscuits. So it's foolish to think that you'll ever get to, well, the thing as well with kombucha is that a lot of the science is still coming out. Like the gut is the most studied organ in the world right now, continuously. The education is continuous. It's not done, and the evolution of kombucha is still growing. However many thousand kids go off to America and Canada, go off on J1s, and that's where people kind of they break their own mold. They're away in a foreign land. They're going to Safeway. They're going to all the different kind of American or Canadian retailers. They're seeing all these new products. They're having to buy food for themselves. Everything changes. And what happens then is these people go and they come back to Ireland, and then they educate from the ground up, being they'll tell their parents about it, or their brothers or their sisters, and they come back bright-eyed, bushy tails, full of enthusiasm, full of ideas. So a lot of the education kind of comes from that side as well. And what we're seeing is when we first started off, we thought our target audience would have laid between 20 to 35, but what it actually is that there's a lot of kids that are drinking it because their parents are buying it for the kids because they don't want their kids bouncing off the walls, or they don't want to be giving them really sugary, fizzy, shitty drinks. They just want to look after their children, and it's this is organic, this is low in calories, this is low in sugar, this is a living drink, this is full of probiotics with acetic acid. And then also the age group above 60. People are swapping out alcohol and drinking that then instead. And those are 2 massive markets that we kind of, we didn't know it until we started doing our subscription. And then we're calling up our customers and talking to our customers and asking when do you drink it? Why do you drink it? And that blew our minds. We're just wow, you can think one thing, but a lot of the time, you need to go out and talk to the people that are actually buying it, because you're so close to the product and the business that you forget what it's like in actuality of walking in, having no connection to the product at all, and just buying it in your weekly food shop and seeing where it lands and why you buy it and how you buy it. So very informative.
It's interesting because do you think with the recent education of gut health, everyone's saying it's a second brain, you have to look after more fermented food, probiotics, prebiotics, all those things. Do you think we're at the forefront of education and it's really taking steam now because the likes of kimchi and kombucha are really, really booming right now?
No, I think it's on the up and up. Because what's happening now is there's a lot of brands and products that are coming in, and they're saying they're fermented, or not all kombuchas are made the same. A lot of them will pasteurize it, or they'll use a concentrate. So it's not an actual real kombucha. So it's very difficult to find these things out. So there's in the health and wellness industry, local is definitely best. If there is a commercial brand trying to pivot itself as a health product, be skeptical around companies pivoting themselves as a health and wellness style product that's coming from America or Canada, because in order for it to come from all these faraway lands into us here, shortcuts have most definitely been taken. So I think the quality will rise as the research develops, and then the market trends and habits will shape consumer behavior and promote more health orientated products, and it'll get a hell of a lot more specific as well, especially with a lot of the new developments in AI healthcare. You can get like really tailored. You can get just a little JCB passing by me here in Clarny. Here we go.
Happens. Show the crowd there. Can you show it?
Oh, I can't afford.
If people don't already know, if they're watching on YouTube, Keith is actually in the van. He's hustling. He's heading down to Killarney to do to meet a few clients. So he's on the road. So really appreciate him jumping on.
Or the
in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But
in the middle of nowhere.
That kind of that kind of leads into one of my questions in the sense of innovation. How important innovation is for yourself, Emmett, and All About Kombucha, because you're saying when you came across the product originally, it was just a healthier for you tea. But now we're 6 years on. How have you guys innovated around good health or anything regarding that and after COVID as well?
Yeah, good question. I think people can get so caught up in like innovation in like an extroverted sense. It's kind of like, you know, the work that you do in yourself. Is it like trying to like make more friends and have more and better perceived experiences, or is it like, you know, you're trying to work internally on yourself, which in turn then will help you have better experiences regardless of the external factors? So when it comes to innovation, like having innovation within our workspace is very, 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 very important, because the more efficiencies that you have, if you layer on more products and more processes, the more waste and the more cost then that will be created then from that. So it can sink you quickly. So it's a fine balance of trying to strike, you know, making sure that the foundation is strong enough to take another floor first before you, like, you know, go put the penthouse on. So we also have tons more work to do on, you know, the kombucha market as well. So before we got ahead of ourselves, we thought, okay, look, we'll do first what we need to do in terms of our own brand and our own products and make them the best they can possibly be first before we distract ourselves with like new ranges or new products or more diversification. So we've tried to like innovate from within first before getting too caught up in the glitz and the glam of, you know, the next trend or the next products. And that's not to say like we have a new range in the pipeline, but you know, we're 7 years in now, and we're coming up to within the next year we'll have our new range released that won't be kombucha. So yeah, it can be an elusive one.
So essentially it is for products and companies like yourselves to innovate but not get carried away with ourselves, listen to the customers and bring in products they want, but not necessarily stuff that you see as a trend in the future, but kind of stay within the customer's dynamic.
Yeah. An idea is the fun part, you know, having an idea of a new range or a new concept or a new marketing strategy. Then it comes to work.
Yeah.
Then you got to work, and you got to like product development, you know, like flavor creation. You got to test it. You got to like, you know, have a whole new conversation again. Like developing the business that you already have rather than trying to get new business. Can sometimes be a bit more challenging, but you know, it really makes sense because they're already bought into what you're doing. So why get caught up in the concept of like more, you know, on paper than developing what you already have?
Yeah, and sometimes as entrepreneurs as well, I was saying there earlier, yourself and myself are very hardwired. We're always coming up with new ideas, new innovations, but sometimes you do have to tone it back because you can't create everything. You spend money and time and focus away from what you should be doing, kind of going after something in the future that you're not really sure. You kind of need to find and strike the balance between them both. As well, you were saying about your customers, okay? How have yourself, Emmett, and All About Kombucha cultivated the brand into where you want All About Kombucha to be over the last few years?
We were born in the markets. You know, we were born within that kind of chaos, and it's where we thrived as well. There's a lot of stuff that you can do online, brand activation, but a lot of it then is done in order to like get a product in someone's hand or get like an actual physical touch point. So we've been very heavy on that side of things from the get-go. From the creation of like our Booch bar, that portable kombucha bar that we can bring in and do events with, whether it's with like Google or we go with the Ailey LeGras, that's there. That's at the ready to like, you know, go and greet and make some like, you know, cool kombucha cocktails and mocktails and meet people then at different events. But around the COVID time, we put on these things called community days, and
Yeah.
we
I
teamed.
went to one of them. Something I had never done before. We did yoga. We went swimming. We had a family meal. I
Yeah,
think you
well, we
made a
did yoga. We tried to do yoga.
I tried to. It was just
I know,
hard
right? It
stretching for me. I'll never be able to do it. But I tried, man. I tried. But it was great. The people, the community that you guys are harboring and creating is unlike any other brand. And brands at the moment really need to focus on their ability to build communities, because a lot of people are just creating products. You know, you need to create something that people want to be a part of, especially in, this is kind of an existential thing, but it's kind of in an era of digital. Everything is digital. People want more connection, and this is what you guys are doing with All About Kombucha.
Yeah, like we don't really use social media ourselves, so
Yeah.
it's like why you know put out something that you know we aren't really. So we'd rather meet the people and we'd rather you know meet people in person. You know, to either like with the beach clean, which is surprisingly a serious amount of crack,
Yeah.
or like you know, as you said, like you know some of the swims or the breath work, saunas. Anything in person is just you feel better after it, and it's important
And
because now
that's a
people.
testament to yourselves as well. Like, to create a product is all well and good, but to go that extra step by making people feel like they're part of something is, it's how you create the community, and it's about creating the brand. So that's testament what you guys want to do with All About Kombucha.
Yeah, yeah. Like one thing that trips me out, and it had, I think it was like our second year that we were doing it. I couldn't grasp the concept. Like scalability is already like hard for my mind to like conceptualize, and I was like, oh, I'm actually like my life is being lived through people like supporting us and drinking kombucha. And I look around and you know everyone that we employ, like 9 people, it's like they're all living through being supported by the community. It's an empowering thought then to go into a shop and be like, okay, the what I'm gonna buy in terms of a drink or you know a coffee or whatever. Sometimes if you can kind of like hold back on that convenience thought of like what's quick and easy, oh Frank and Honest and Centra, rather than where's actually my favorite coffee shop. Do you know? Because if everyone started thinking like that, then it goes towards more independent people doing cooler things. They're better supported, and it's something that everyone that buys something off someone that the brand that they know you know, they should take a moment to be like, I'm supporting this brand. You know, I've actually made the conscious decision to you know, help keep the lights on, you know, keep the brews going, you know, keep the coffee machine working. All those small things, especially now, it's something that I think has gone under the radar for a long time. That you know, it's like your vote. It's in such a grand. It's so hard to think that like, okay, what's one vote going to actually is that going to make a difference? But you know, over time, as a product, if you keep on buying into like you know your everyday purchases, that shit helps. Collectively, like that's what a business is.
Massively, yeah.
Yeah.
But supporting the small business has a knock-on effect on everyone, from the barista in the coffee shop to the suppliers that you guys get to the stores. Everything that you guys are connected with, one purchase does have that snowball effect.
Man, 100%. And like you hear of all the like franchising chains coming in. We're based in Galway, and Galway was a very, very, very like artisanal kind of bohemian style city.
Yeah.
Times have changed, and a lot of those like restaurants have closed. Like you come down to Cork, and it's mostly independent, but they
Yeah.
support their own. Like, and I really, really, really appreciate the people from the south of Ireland because like they are dead set on that. You don't see that many franchises and chains, and then people from Dublin are giving out that it's like Starbucks here or whoever that. I'm not going to throw anyone on the bus, but you know it's
Yeah.
become all chained, and it's like, well, yeah, because like look how busy those chains are. Everyone's eating in those chains. They should be eating in like the more local places. That in turn keeps the culture and the vibe of the place like alive. So yeah, like your decisions do make an impact on the businesses in your locality. You are pretty much the decision maker as to whether or not they survive.
For sure. And that's what I wanted to create this podcast for, is for the likes of yourself to tell these stories, the smaller producers and business owners, to kind of reinforce why it is so important to, as cliched as it is, shop local, because it does have a massive impact. And then if people are getting annoyed at the amount of McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks popping up, then use your money as power to support locals, to improve local facilities, like for the smaller producers, the independent coffee shops. So it has that knock-on effect on everything. And as you said, Cork City is doing a great job of that. I would have thought Galway would have been up there as well in comparison to Dublin, but
yeah, Dublin's kind of screwed.
yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of lost a bit of that. There are some great places, don't get me wrong, but some corners are just kind of lost to the ethos of the big corporate franchises as well. Okay, so I wanted to talk about self-improvement. So as entrepreneurs, we're always trying to improve, and high performance people, we're always trying to improve some aspect, whether it's our daily ritual, our morning ritual. As an entrepreneur of a very successful, award-winning kombucha brand, what is your ideas of self-improvement? What does it mean for you?
Ooh. What it means for me is I heard someone say, if you can't manage yourself, you can't manage someone else.
Great point. Yeah, I like that.
If you're struggling to manage your own emotional reactions, whether it be to competition or through your own personal life, relationships, whatever it might be, it's your responsibility to try to make sure that that is contained within your own ability to deal with your own shit. Because if someone's working for you, you can't abuse that. Like, you gotta take care of your own stuff, and then you gotta realize that they're at work, and you gotta respect them for their time and their efforts and their energy too. So I think trying to maintain, a level of professionalism and fun and enjoyment, and a lot of that comes down to, and like that's one of the hardest things that I found about working for myself is like routine, because like you're always kind of on, and you're answerable to yourself, and the first person that's going to take the hit is you, physically or financially. I've struggled a lot with injuries to my body, putting them on the long finger, not tending to them, and then my body feeling the strain and the injuries then, which in turn then affects my mental performance. And if my mental performance has been hit, then things seem to be a lot worse than they are. So yeah, maintaining both my physical health as well as my mental health are like the two key components, I think, of running a business. And that comes with routine as well. There's times that you can kind of you got to use the momentum of that to keep things ticking over, because if you're not careful, your your to-do list will never be done. So it's like a mirage. Like you can keep on working until whatever hour of the night. Like the next day you wake up, there's gonna be more emails, more things to do. You got to realize too, what do I actually need to do, and what do I need to do for myself too.
So you notice that even for yourself in the physical aspect, the compound effect of you weren't in ways looking after your physical body, right? Whilst you were being an entrepreneur and hustling and working hard. So then it ended up you get more injuries, your back, your knees start to go. So it's basically taking care of yourself so the business can prosper. So the business doesn't suffer from work that you didn't do in the past. What's the toughest part that you find the day-to-day management of?
Sounds basic, but it's doing the things that I don't want to do. Yeah.
Putting things off, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the time, thinking is they're never as bad as what you think they are. Like, if you don't know how to do something, you might play it down to yourself, like, oh, it's fine, or oh yeah, I'll get to it, or oh, it's not that big of a deal. But the amount of time that spends in your head talking, it's ridiculous really when you zoom out and see your whole kind of week schedule. It's like something's been hanging about for a week or two. It's just like, get that shit done and shut that voice up. Because you sit down, you're just like, this is I can't believe I made a big deal out of this.
Yeah.
I just get this done sooner rather than later. So that's kind of where I'd be mentally. And as an entrepreneur as well, there's a lot of things that you do that you don't know necessarily, am I doing the right thing? So I always opt to look for confirmation that I am doing the right thing, rather maybe I'd call someone up who I know has done it, or someone who's got a little bit more experience, or just try to get a gauge as to okay, am I moving in the right direction? Because I don't want to waste my time not. And then that's that's always an easy start as well, is just to call someone up who's done it before. You're just what's the story? And then
so essentially it's getting the stuff that needs to be done, tick that off the list, as opposed to doing the stuff that you enjoy to do and just focusing on the stuff that it's oh yeah, I like doing this, I'm going to do this. Sometimes you need to actually get into, in ways, the trenches and actually do the stuff you don't want to do. It's like in sports. It's like no one really likes to train that hard, but they like to play the match. So you have to train to play the match, you know, if you want to be the best in the match, you know? So entrepreneurship is the same. You have to do the stuff you don't want to do, the little tasks, unfortunately, that do need to be done, that get put on the long finger, that have this knock-on effect in the future and end up being a lot worse in the future than if you had just done it when you should have.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. It's a huge thing for being an entrepreneur, is time management in that regard. And you also mentioned getting on to people that know it better than you as well. Don't be afraid to actually get in touch with the people that have done it in the past so you don't fall into that pitfall from there. Awesome. Keith, we actually didn't really talk enough, in my opinion, on All About Kombucha. Let us know what the situation is with you guys, where you're based, how many staff you guys have, where can people find your products?
So we're based in Clare, Galway, just outside of Galway. If anyone's looking for it, it's Ballyunclore. It's out in the Gaeltacht. It took me a long time to actually find Clare, Galway when we first moved out because I was looking for it on the road signs. Ballyunclore, I just did not put two and two together. So we're about 15 minutes just outside of Galway City. We're a team of 9, tight team, close team. It's lean. Everyone's got a huge role to play within our business, because that's the challenge of a startup as well. Everyone's very much involved. Everyone's got a pivotal role. So everyone's got a lot of responsibility. So when everyone's working together and firing off on all the same cylinders, it's great. But it can be tough. Like, you know, it's why people like working in startups, because you're actually a part of something. But, you know, the downside is that it's a hell of a lot harder than just like a plug and play type of job. And we are nationwide. We are in quite a lot of the centres and super values across the Dublin, Wicklow, Galway, Clare, Mayo, Cork, Kerry, Tip region. And then we're dotted along across of, we're in the Connacht Tesco's. We also have a contract with Dunn Stores to do their Simply Better range. So we've got 3 cool flavours with them: cucumber, rose and apple, and passion fruit and mint. Awesome. And that's nationwide in all 108 stores in the Simply Better can. So it's like a cool, slick black can. And then a host of different restaurants and cafes all across the country.
And incredible. Starting in a farmer's market to how many stores do you think you're in now? How many outlets?
Man, I'd say 300.
100. And your own brewery as well, starting in a farmer's market. Incredible story of persistence, perseverance, and really just the educational piece as well, and getting out there, teaching people the beauty of kombucha as well. So when it comes to it as well, what's the future, do you believe, for All About Kombucha?
We want to establish ourselves as the go-to kombucha brand in Ireland. And that quality that we want to give our customers is that it's a live, living, raw, organic Irish kombucha. And there's a lot of kombuchas that are coming in that aren't made in Ireland. As I said, they're filtered, concentrate, they're not living. So we'd like to kind of clear a lot of that up. And anyone that's actually drinking kombucha for the health benefits, we want to let them know that, you know, our brand is staying true to the authentic techniques. And from there as well, like, as I said earlier on, you know, kombucha is our first and foremost agenda, and it's hard to prophesize what will happen then as we bring in new ranges and new products, because we're looking at a few different ranges. Time can only tell how the market responds to them. Do people like them? We're going to make sure that the flavor's on point. We're going to make sure that they're always healthy. We're going to make sure that, like, you know, we keep them to the highest quality and the highest standard. And we're going to try to give the people what they want.
Legend. Whilst creating an incredible community around it as well, and doing your beach cleans, community runs, community walks. Incredible altogether. Awesome, man. That's an exciting time ahead for yourself and Emmett as you venture into the future now. Who do you think in the food and beverage space is doing a fantastic job in your opinion?
You're going to laugh now. Liquid Death.
Liquid Death. Okay. Interesting. Why is that now?
I'm sure
plenty of people know Liquid Death, but why do you think of it?
Man, it's like he's pure bowled. He's pure bowled. His business is valued over 1 billion. You know, they've gone into water. They've done everything, you know, that's perceived as like don't do. I just like how he's gone against a lot of the textbook rules, and he's on the side and he's just like, and what? You know, and what? So he's definitely an original thinker with the cool, with a brand that I appreciate, you know. And I also like to find it as well, like, you know, they don't want any they don't want any more plastic bottles. There's something ridiculous
Yeah.
like 20 plastic bottles being produced an hour. Do you know? Or sorry, a second. So he's just like, aluminium, infinitely recyclable. If you want water, get yourself this. It's just like, yeah, sound makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, no, everything about it is fantastic. It's even the original concept, and water's always been seen as clean and pure and like this kind of somewhat pretentious type of style when it was marketed. But he just went completely left field, putting animation on it, kind of out there imagery, and it just worked so well for him. So it's an incredible way to take what was a mundane product into a brand new stratosphere.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to ask you about an Irish entrepreneur as well. Who in the Irish scene do you think is also doing a fantastic job?
Who do I think is doing a fantastic job? Geez, like there's a lot of people within our own kind of circle that are doing really, really, really cool jobs. I really appreciate what Gary Lavin has done with FitHit, how he's created a brand that has just not got caught up in a price war. Somehow he's established himself as like, no one's ever charging any more than what they are for a FitHit, which is from my perspective very interesting to have been able to do that. The majority of brands that I appreciate are actually probably under the radar because they've done what they like. Some of them just service their own local community and they're just like, no, I'm good. I don't want anything else. They're just like top premium. I don't really care about, mass. They don't care
That's
about.
a testament to themselves as well by creating a great product, and they're happy out with whichever way they want to go about it. Well, Gary Lavin's a great example of that, and a great guy to boot as well. He's probably one of the finest Irish products that has ever come out of Ireland. It's across the world. It's across Europe. I think it's the number one selling drink in Iceland and one of them in the UK. So Gary is a true testament to entrepreneur and perseverance as well. It definitely was an overnight success with Gary, and he's a great guy as well. So Keith, last bit for yourself, okay? What I wanted to ask you, if you had to talk to yourself 5 years ago or any other aspiring entrepreneur, what's one piece of advice you would give them that you've learned over the years?
Get the right help.
Interesting.
Not help, get the right help.
Yeah.
Yeah, right being the key word there. Someone that doesn't want to just talk to tell you how much they know. Someone that's talking from experience, telling you what it is that they've learned. Yeah, I think that. And also, like naivety or like ignorance is bliss. Sometimes being like, and having that as your strategy and staying offline for the first, part of your journey. Like social media is a fucking echo chamber a lot of the time. There's a lot of brands like food and drinks brands that like some of the biggest ones don't even have a social media presence.
Yeah.
So it's like why some people then like get into Instagram wars with themselves. Their ego just goes completely out of whack, or they're trying to prove themselves to another brand or whatever else it might be, and so much time, effort, and energy is wasted. It's not good. So I think just like if you can steer clear of social media while you get up and going and use it as a research tool, do that.
For sure. I agree. I fell into that trap back in my days. I think we spoke about it a couple of years ago. I fell into that trap, and it was purely an ego thing as well. So you got to keep that in check, So yeah, social media can have such a positive influence on you, on the business and how the sales, but also a negative impact on yourself and your mental health in the sense as well, which therefore affects the business.
Yeah, 100%.
Great, Keith. Fantastic. Look, I really enjoyed that. You're an inspiration to myself over the years. I've taken so much advice from you, and I can't wait to see what you and Emmett get up to in the future. I'm going to get Emmett on for Series 2. So thanks, Emil, for jumping on. I know you're hustling now in the van in the middle of a field, so I really appreciate it, my man. And thanks, Emil, and best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thanks very much. And well done, man. Good to see you
doing it. Appreciate it. And that's a wrap for the second episode of the Savor Success podcast with Keith Loftus of All About Kombucha. I hope you enjoyed hearing Keith's story and his incredible insights as much as I did. Keith's knowledge continues to blow me away, and I hope it inspired you too. If you could do us a favor, like and subscribe, leave a rating, or drop a comment below. It would really mean a lot. Every bit of feedback always helps. And don't forget to share it with other kombucha lovers out there. So stay tuned for more inspiring conversations with food and beverage entrepreneurs. And until next time, keep savoring success.